Seth Rollins' WrestleMania 38 opponent has been revealed. Kind of. We'll get to that in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to just say that I appreciate Seth Rollins so much. If you guys have not seen this video that's on WWE social media, that's on YouTube, everywhere, go check it out. It's Seth Rollins going to WWE headquarters. He has this big meeting with Vince McMahon, and it's kind of been pulled into this storyline with Rollins and who is he going to face at WrestleMania? He wanted an opponent. He obviously was not able to get an opponent. He was not able to win his way into a match. So now he has this big meeting with Vince where he's going to demand a WrestleMania match. And he just walks in there doing his Seth Rollins shtick. He walks into Vince's office. He's like, I'm Seth Rollins. Where's Vince? Doing what he does. That's what Seth Rollins does. He laughs maniacally. But he's doing that. He's waiting around. He's like ticking his clock, but he doesn't even have a watch. It's amazing. Go check it out. But so he has this meeting with Vince, and Vince basically just tells him, well, Seth, if you wanted an opponent, you could have just came and asked me. And Rollins is just freaking out like, what? I could have just asked you. And anyway, Vince says, he lays it out. You, Seth Rollins, will have a WrestleMania opponent. Show up at the show of shows on Saturday night, and you will have an opponent. He did not reveal who the opponent was. All he said was, it will be an opponent of my choosing. Everyone and their mother knows exactly who this opponent is going to be. It is going to be the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. At this point, it 100% has to be the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Cody is signed. He's been signed for about 3 weeks now. We know this. They've made the dashing references. They've made all the big references about Cody Rhodes. It has to be him. At this point, there's no one else. And look, again, I think there's like a 99% chance it's Cody Rhodes. It has to be. The 1% chance that it's not. If we get to WrestleMania Day and it is not Cody Rhodes, that will be like, that's promotional malpractice. WWE fans and wrestling fans in general should have a gripe. Rightfully so, will have a gripe. I will have a gripe because at this point, you have told them it is Cody Rhodes. This goes beyond heat. This goes beyond all that stuff. It's just lying to your fan base. This would be the equivalent if leading into the first dance, after all the references, after all the build up to the show in the United Center in Chicago, Tony Khan said, we never had CM Punk to begin with. And he's not, and no, that would have been bad for that company. It definitely will be bad for WWE. Again, that's a 1% chance. I don't think WWE is that stupid. So the match is going to be set up. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, WrestleMania 38, Saturday night. And this has been the match. This is always the match that everyone was talking about when we first heard the news that Cody had signed with WWE. It almost seemed immediately that was the guy. And look, I know this really isn't a dream match technically in a lot of people's eyes because it's just we've seen it before, right? Because Cody was in WWE at the same time Seth Rollins was in WWE, so it's not like a new match, but it kind of is in a way because this is a brand new Cody Rhodes, completely different from the one in 2014 to 2016. And this is a Seth Rollins who is doing, some could argue, some of the best work of his career. I would argue he's in and he's out. He's like good sometimes. He's like sometimes. Although the gimmick of that's a money gimmick. I just him doing that every week is just hilarious to me. But look, these are two big time athletes, big time superstars, big time pro wrestlers. At the biggest stage, the granddaddy of them all, the most stupendous two-night WrestleMania of all time. They're gonna have a match that is gonna steal the show. Cody's gonna want to have a great opening match for WrestleMania. Especially for his return. Seth Rollins, he always delivers at WrestleMania. Like he rarely ever has a bad match, especially on a big show like WrestleMania. So I think they're gonna be fine in that respect. Now, what happens afterwards is something that people are gonna keep a huge eye on because everyone's wondering how is Cody gonna be treated after his initial debut, after the first 3 months. Because for me, it's like first few months, I think they're gonna treat him as a star. I think they're gonna be patient with him. I think they're gonna build him up for a big match. And there's the reports floating around out there that the winner of this Rollins Cody Rhodes match will end up facing the Universal / WWE champion, whoever wins that title unification match between Lesnar and Roman Reigns at the next pay-per-view. It's gonna be Roman Reigns, by the way. So Cody versus Reigns for the title, like immediately. That's how you build them up. For me, I'm not concerned about that part. I'm concerned about what happens, by the time Survivor Series comes around, by the time Royal Rumble comes around, by the time WrestleMania next year comes around. Because if Cody Rhodes is in the Finn Balor spot, if Cody Rhodes is even in like the AJ Styles spot where it's just like, yeah, we paired him with Omos. Oh, yeah, what are we going to... Yeah, Cody Rhodes and Shanky. That's what we need. Cody and Shanky. No. Yeah, so I just hope they treat him as a star, and I hope they use him because, man, oh man, this is probably WWE's biggest signing and I want to say like definitely their biggest signing, at least in my opinion, since AJ Styles. Like definitely the biggest since then. I argue it's bigger than AJ Styles because this is the first ever defection from this new upstart, legitimate pro wrestling company in AEW. And it just happens to be one of the co-founders. So, what a week it's going to be. WrestleMania 38. Cody's going to show up, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But it's going to be Cody and Seth Rollins. I can't wait to see this match.